Hello guys, welcome to Pervy Recaps. Today we are exploring anime Black Summoner. A surprise at the end, so stick till last. Let's get started. A young man named Kelvin dies and agrees to be reincarnated into a new world with skills, his choosing, in exchange for all memories except his name. Awakening in the new world, he finds out he chose to be a summoner mage, and the goddess of reincarnation, Melfina, is now his servant in the form of an interactive game menu. Kelvin starts freaking out, thinking that he's totally screwed. But to his surprise, Melfina assures him that he chose the right skills. Kelvin comments that he must have been a gamer in his past life. After arriving in the town of Parth, he joins the Adventurers Guild as a basic mage, keeping his summoner skill secret. Melfina explains that summoners are so rare and powerful that practically only 3 of them exist in the world. So kings and nations might even start wars to acquire them. To left, Lumpy takes a job to slay slide monsters, which leads to taming his first monster, a slime which he names Cloth. Though after it's tamed, he is surprised to see just how powerful it became, as it's now almost 100 times stronger, commenting that if this is what it can do to a level 1 slime, then there's no telling what he can do to more powerful monsters out there. He then learns from Melfina that before reincarnating, he was granted summoner class as the highest possible, making him the most powerful living summoner in the world, and as he is still only level 1, he'll become even more powerful as his level increases. She also teases him for asking her to be his servant, reminding him that he practically sweet doctor for hours and that she wants to hear more of what he was saying earlier, as she had been working for ages and wanted to take a couple of decades off as a vacation. Kelvin is busy at treating his reincarnation as a vacation, but he agrees to summon her into the human world once he has enough matter. Returning to Parth is disturbed to find slavery is common in this world, but tries not to think about it and instead rent a room for the night. After a couple of weeks of grinding, Kelvin is quickly promoted to a rack. While at the Adventurers, Haldi rank adventurer, Cashel approached Kelvin, asking him whether he would like to team up and take down the Black Knight, a boss monster near the town who is notorious for being strong. But secretly, Cashel seeks to humiliate and kill Kelvin to steal his stats. But thanks to Kelvin's appraisal skill, he sees that Cashel is titled as a murderer. So instead of joining him, he suggests a contest. Whoever is the first to defeat the Black Knight wins. Kelvin would be solo, but Cashel is free to do it with his party. Fast forward to tomorrow. Cashel and his criminal party members, Gamal and Raj, arrive at the Knight's lair and are surprised to see his undead army defeated. Kelvin then confronts Cashel and his gang about their plans to murder him, stating that they were too weak to do anything anyways. This seemed to anger Baldy as he runs straight to a trap set by Kelvin. Gamal tries to run but is caught by Clotho, who recently leveled up to Demon Lord class Devourers thanks to Kelvin. Best ranked summoner class, with no way out. Kitchell tries to take down Kelvin but has beaten up by him. Kelvin then locates the Black Knight and states that he's originally here to defeat him, but now plans on making him his servant. He is then surprised to see the Knight already has a personality and a name. Gerard is able to explain he was once a human knight but became a monster. After he died, after a short duel to gauge each other's strength, Gerard abruptly remembers the kingdom he once served, Al-Karl, that was destroyed by an elf named Jaildora. When Al-Karl would not help, the Lysia Empire destroyed the Holy Empire of Doramas. This caused the death of Gerard's wife and daughter, Betty and Connie, the pain of which kept him tied to this world after he died just before Claw 01's shots and went the laser beam. The next day, Kelvin supplies a piece of Gerard's armor as proof. He completed the job and, combined with Cashel's bounty, is promoted directly to B rank. Gerard is then revealed to have joined Clotho and Melfina as Kelvin's newest monster. He then starts teasing him about the receptionist, stating that she was worried sick about him, and they use maybe her type. Melfina then jumps in and starts arguing with Gerard, angering Kelvin, who quickly tells them to shut up. The next day, Kelvin meets Guildmaster Leo, who asks if Kelvin came from another world, showing that his appraisal skill is more powerful than Kelvin's concealment skill, so he can see that he's a summoner. Leo admits he knew Castle was a murderer. But as Castle was the foreknoble, he needed proof to take any action. But he is grateful for Kelvin for making his job easier. He also reveals other reincarnations were summoned as the current heroes of the drama's empire to face a demon lord. So Leo wants Calvin to instead focus on the monsters that have become more powerful due to the demon lords. Influence not wanting to get into any dumb struggle for power between nobles, Calvin agrees and decides to purchase the female slave he saw earlier with the purpose of training and adding her to his team. He seeks out the slave master he saw on the first day and spots the beautiful half-elf named Aphil who so far has not been sold due to being under a curse that burns those who touch her. Purchasing her, he breaks the curse, allowing her to touch people for the first time. Returning to his lodgings, Ithiel is under the wing of Claire, his landlady, while Calvin shows her how to use her previously unspent skill points that night. Calvin is unable to sleep as he is forced to share his bed. With Aphil, a month has passed and thanks to Kelvin's guidance, Aphil becomes a deadly archer and gains an affinity for fire due to her previous curse. She also prefers Angie, the guild secretary, who then invites the both of them to a new coffee shop downtown. While there, the Tabara, the third prince of Trasin, arrogantly confronts and attempts to acquire Angie and Aphil for himself, stating that lowborns don't know their place. So naturally Kelvin one-shot his guards and then proceeds to humiliate the prince. He then demands to know what a prince of a random country is doing in the middle of nowhere, to which he said that he got word that a powerful adventurer was spotted in this town and that he came to make him his servant in order to reclaim his kingdom, thanks to a recent scuffle that left him practically an outcast. But Kelvin reveals that he is the adventurer and basically tells him to. Meanwhile, Melfina visits the Cathedral of Doremus to impart a prophecy to Oracle. Caladum, the priest, is responsible for summoning the heroes, ordering them to deal with the threat in the west. And to unsuspiciously stay away from Perth aka where Kelvin and the gang live. Back in the town, Aphil tells Kelvin she has fallen in love with him, but Kelvin resists his desire as she is still a slave and he feels that would be taking advantage of her. Fast forward to tomorrow, and Melfina informs Kelvin that the four heroes are weaker than she was expecting, as Kelvin has surpassed them in a fraction of time. Moments later, Leo summons Kelvin to his office, informing him that a demon has been spotted near the town and that he wants him to deal with it. At first, he seemed hesitant, but Leo casually mentions that a random adventurer had beat up a prince in the middle of town yesterday, and that had become an international incident, and that he had a really hard time sweeping that under the rug. Hearing this, Kelvin immediately accepts the quest. While at the cave, he finds two demons there, the archdemon Victor guarding a demon girl named Sarah. The daughter to the most recently defeated demon lord, Gustav Victor, reveals that it was a good idea to let the humans prior to them escape in hopes of bringing someone powerful enough to break the seal honor as it was designed only to be broken by humans. He then reveals to be a gluttonous demon who can absorb any skill that his victims have just by eating them. And he plans on eating Sarah and becoming the next demon lord himself. Calvin began smiling and Melfina and Gerard explained to Aphil that Calvin has an unfortunate habit as he is a total battle junkie and the more powerful his opponents are, the more excited he becomes. The battle starts with Victor commanding his undead legion, but to his surprise, Calvin and his party take them out, easily forcing him to join the battle himself and transform into his full demonic form. Putting up a good fight, but unfortunately it didn't last long as they were able to easily defeat him thanks to their teamwork. Suddenly a stone pillar almost falls on Sarah, but Victor saves her after the battle. Victor admits he was never going to eat Sarah. In reality, Victor once trained and took care of Sarah when she was young and was assigned to guard her by her father Gustav, before he was defeated by the hero. And then revealed that Gustav cast a spell on Sarah sealing her away so only a human powerful enough could unseal her, hoping that one day she might wake up in a time of peace and prosperity. to live a long and happy life, and as his dying request, Victor asked Calvin to add Sarah to his party so she can finally see the world. Calvin agrees and Victor dies peacefully despite the risk of becoming the next demon king. Calvin frees Sarah and conceals her demon traits. Moments later, Gerard evolves into an abyssal knight commander. An S-rank monster, only found in abyss dungeons. Calvin reports to Leo and is promoted to rank for defeating Victor, and he organizes a celebration of Calvin's promotion. After everyone passes out drunk, Calvin finds Sarah mourning for Victor, who was her only childhood companion. She decides to experience the entire world in Victor. Memory in particular, to see the ocean and learn to swim like Victor once promised her. Having leveled up his crafting skill to S rank, Calvin crafts his new armor from Victor's armor. Gerard also gets a new and improved sword. Calvin states he spent 2 days straight crafting those items, and that he's super hungry. Suddenly, he has a powerful urge for rice. So naturally they all travel to the water kingdom of Taraji and its capital, Coastal City, where rice can be found and Sarah can swim in the ocean. Melfina then disappears again, claiming she hopes to possess one of her avatars and finally appear in a physical form. And of course, not forgetting to tease Calvin with some not safe for work statements. Gerard suspects Melfina is jealous. Calvin has 2 other ladies in the party. On the journey, they are attacked by the bandit gang Black Wind, who wants Era and a feel for the slave trade. Not wanting to stop reading his book, Calvin asked Sarah to deal with them, which she gladly accepted after enjoying toying with them. Calvin jumps in and interrogates them about their leader. After arriving at Taraji, it's then revealed to be an exact copy of mid-level Japan. Calvin meets up with Mr. Rogers, guild leader, and informs her that the Black Wind secret leader is a famous adventurer from Trayson named Christoph, who is secretly involved in the illegal slave trade. For political reasons, they cannot accuse Christoph publicly until Calvin realizes the 4 heroes are in town. By his suggestion, Mist formally requests the heroes look into the recent kidnappings by the Black Wind. Calvin then locates and frees slaves captured by Black Wind before easily defeating Christoph and his lieutenants. The heroes eventually catch up, but believe Christoph is another adventurer sent to free the slaves and find Calvin and his team pretending to be the true leaders of Black Wind. Calvin finally meets the heroes Sword, wielders Toy and Setsuna, and mages Nana and Miyabi. Calvin challenges them to a fight against him, with the losing side having to obey one order from the winner. At first, the heroes are reluctant, but finally agreed to the duel. Beginning the duel, Calvin reveals his new equipment skill leader, What's Your Gloves? That absorb other people's unique skills and allows Calvin to use them. Having already borrowed Sarah's martial combat skill, Calvin next deals parallel processing for Miyabi. Toya tries to fight on his own, believing it at his job to defeat the demon lord one day until Setsuna slaps him for risking himself and ignoring his teammates. Toy apologizes and they all fight as a team. Once again, Calvin thoroughly criticizes their amateur approach and gives them hints on how to improve. Thanks to Calvin tints the heroes succeed in trapping him in and anti-magic trap. So Calvin uses parallel processing to invent a brand new spell and frees himself. All 4 heroes are defeated, but when they awaken, Calvin explains that he is the one who rescued the slaves and Christoph is the true criminal. The heroes realize Calvin only fought them to measure their abilities and help them improve and thank them. Calvin reminds them that they promised to obey one order, so he demands they strip their clothes, shocking everyone in the room. Calvin changes the heroes into swim clothes and takes them to a sea cave to train against a giant octopus. Calvin knows that they almost lost to the octopus, so they stand no chance against a dungeon boss, and the demon lord would kill them without effort. Sarah locates a dungeon boss dragon. The heroes decide to fight it, which impresses Calvin with their resolve. So he gives them a break and defeats the dragon himself. Soon after the heroes leave, so Calvin gives them necklaces he enchanted himself to boost their stats. He then is summoned by the Queen of Terrage, Sabaki Fujiwara, and realizes from her castle architecture and her family name that one of her ancestors must have been Japanese. She thanks him for defeating Black Wind and the dragon, and is surprised when Kelvin requests only rice as a reward, so she rewards him with a lifetime supply and even teaches a field Japanese cuisine. Sabaki attempts to hire Kelvin to work for her personally and some other personal stuff, if you know what I mean, but he rejects the offer, stating that his mission is not done. Yet in Perth, Kelvin purchases a large house and also hires 2 of the slaves he freed from Black Wind, Ellie and her daughter Luca, as household servants. Melfina returns with her avatar body, and Kelvin is able to summon her into the physical world for the first time. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, a sub to the channel would be substantial. See you in the next one.